Well, well, well. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. And today is a very, very special day. Because not only do I have a pretty big video that I've been working on for since the past week, but it is also, you guessed it, my 20th birthday. Hooray for me! Today, yes, today's the day I turned 20. Goodness gracious, I'm old. Well, yeah. well, so I guess today to celebrate that and everybody here and being here for me and whatnot, I decide to give everybody a special present from me in the form of a challenge video. And this one, I've been planning for a little while, and I finally managed to do it. And I got all the footage. I got everything ready, and I'm just glad that I managed to pull it off pretty much. And as of the time of recording this, I am, well, pretty much just celebrating my birthday and getting things planned and whatnot, especially for the for what to do on the specific day and whatnot. But yeah, anyways. So, today we are going to be seeing the challenge video. And we are going to document my trip for all the way from San Jose all the way up to Windsor. Yeah, you heard me. And in case you guys are not at least in California or familiar with that, that's basically a 100 plus mile trip that started all the way from 8 a.m. all the way till like 5 to 6 p.m. basically. Yeah, all day. And I woke up at 5 a.m. to do that. So, yeah, but it was pretty awesome. I loved it a lot, and I enjoyed the entire route there even if there was a little bit of downsides here and there and whatnot, but most of that will be explained later. So, I guess without further delay, I will be telling you guys about the trip, as well as the rules, and I will also talk here and there, and also maybe give a little bit of backstory about this and that and such. Maybe of, the routes, and also of the transit services that I rode that day, and this and that and such, what yada yada yada, everything there. So, I guess without further ado, let's get right into it. But first, before we get into it, I must know about the rules here. Or, well, tell you about the rules, since, well, I made it and I already finished the challenge as of recording this, and you'll be the ones to hear the rules. So let's get over them, shall we? So, rule number one is that I must not get off the bus or buses except for emergency purposes only. So let's say somebody is being threatening on board or there's a situation going on and it requires everybody to get off or something. You're allowed to do that. And let's say I need to go to the bathroom. Like maybe I need to do a number one, maybe a number two. That is also allowed. Also, I am allowed to move within the bus also. So let's say I'm uncomfortable with being at the front or at the back and I want to move to, let's say, the front of the bus or vice versa to the back, and I'm allowed to do that basically. And yes, so I can't get off for any other reason. Also, also I have to say that I also am allowed to get off the bus for transfers because, obviously I'm going to be doing that. So, number two, I must finish the trip to Windsor even if I finish the drawing ahead of time. So, basically, let's say that the drawing gets finished at, like, per se, San Francisco or anywhere before hitting the North Bay. yes, I can finish the drawing before then, but I must remain on the buses and straight into Windsor until the end. And that's basically what I have to do. Number three, I am allowed to ride the rapid routes. So, taking into account, let's say, the 14R, the 522 on VTA, etc. So, I am allowed to ride the rapid routes since it really doesn't affect that much. I mean, the only thing is that it will challenge me to try and do them a little bit more faster because, well, they're rapid and it will make things a little bit more harder considering that it's under a time constraint there. But yeah, and number four is that I must only draw on the buses. So if I'm outside and sitting on a bench, I cannot pull out the tablet and do the picture on the bench. If I'm off in another area waiting for the bus, I'm sorry, I cannot make the picture right there. I must do it on the bus. This challenge requires me to only do art while moving, not when I'm stationary and waiting for the next transfer. And for the last and final rule, buses only. And that means no Uber, no Lyft, no train rides, and except for the finishing. So I must be on the buses only straight to Windsor. It's only when I finish the challenge and when I'm coming back home is when I'm allowed to take any other routes necessary, whether that's a train or getting a rideshare service or getting a taxi, whatever. It does not matter, but since I'm doing this challenge towards Windsor on buses only, I must do it only using buses. I cannot and I must not use trains and I must not use rideshare service. And so that's basically the rundown of all the rules. And so, I believe with all that, we shall get into the footage of the day of the challenge. So, without further ado, let's change this little area, shall we? Wait. And there we go. Finally, we start the first leg right here, currently at about 8:20-ish a.m. at the time of this recording. And so we have to go over to the other side and board onto the 522. And these two are, well, different buses, but they're not going to be the one that I'm going to be taking. No, these ones are for different places, but they are pretty cool nonetheless. So without further ado, let's begin. So here we are. We reach our first bus, which is this beautiful XDE60, and it's, well, serving the 522 rapid service to Palo Alto, which, if you're not familiar with those who take VTA or in California or whatever, is basically the rapid counterpart to the 22 local service. So here I am. We're making the head shape for A, making his little collar or his neck or whatever you want that to be, and basically working on the hair, which I had a little bit of difficulty on because, well, this driver had the bus freaking swinging and sliding all over the place, all over the road, basically. And they had the pedal to the metal the entire way to Palo Alto, which is kind of something I don't really get to see that much on the 522. Well, apart from last time where the driver was slow like a turtle, but yeah, this time around they had it very fast. So to explain a little bit about VTA, VTA was originally uh, three companies, which was the San Jose City Lines, the Peerless Stages, and Palo Alto Transit, who came together to form County Transit in 1972.
And they were originally known as SCCTD, Santa Clara County Transit District, and were often known as this, or known as the Transportation Agency, or TA, from about 1993 up to 1995 until January 1st, 1995, where they merged with the Santa Clara County Congestion Management Department and legally remained as CCTD for about a year until about the same year, where they changed the name to VTA, where we all know and love. And so the services this thing provides goes at least far east up to Milpitas, where it interchanges with the AC Transit, and then goes as south as Gilroy, and it merges and it services with um, Salinas Transit over there in Gilroy, and also Santa Cruz Metro in San Jose. It also goes as far north as Palo Alto, which is the max limit for it, and it goes around there with Samtrans, and um, also with other agencies, including the Barton Express. So yeah, VTA is, I think, one of my favorite agencies. Well, apart from being a little bit scummy, according to the whole strike thing that happened with them a little while back, but they're all right. They're a pretty good agency, and I do like them. I do like them a lot. So, anyways, here I am, focusing back on the drawing now. I'm making Abby's hair, making his bangs for right here, for the front of his face, struggling a little bit and pausing just to give myself a little bit of a break, but also to um, focus on what to give these guys pose wise, as well as trying to map a side view of what the head would look like. So here I am working on that, adding in his little famous leaf and whatever that is on the top. I is never really explained what that was. I don't know if it's supposed to be a leaf or anything. Some people say it's an apple stem. Some people say it's just a random hair ornament. I personally don't know what that is, but yeah. So we go back to A in figuring out what his pose is for a little bit. But now, originally, I wanted him to point to the camera whilst holding a cake in one of his arms, but I kind of did not like that idea, mainly because, it would have been a little bit hard to do. So I chose a little bit of a more easier option with just him holding a cake and looking down at it. So here I am, mapping out his body and cutting down a little bit of the extra bits and then moving down to his shorts and working down on that. And here we go. And also situating the legs can be a little bit tough, but you know, we managed to get that thing all working and whatnot. And so we manage to get this all fixed up. And so here I am and trying to work out the arm poses. And so, of course, I land on attempting to have him, with his right arm, hold the cake, and with his left, just basically, or no, yeah, his right arm is just basically just resting on his waist, and then his left arm is basically the one that's holding the cake. And so here we go, mapping this out a little bit, fixing up the inconsistent sizes here and there and whatnot as we trekkle on. Now, occasionally you will see some like cuts here and there with the footage. It's mainly because sometimes with the camera it has a tendency to shut off mid recording, so I have to go ahead and lean forward. And sometimes I do a little bit of a mess up too with some of the footage, and it requires me to make sure everything's okay before filming back up again, and yeah, basically just checking everything, see if it's okay. So here I am making up his little hands, his fingers, holding the cake basically, and attempting to get the arm right here. And it kind of is a little bit of like it kind of is a little issue sometimes. I mean, sometimes the arm comes out looking a little bit funky, like a charger from Left 4 Dead 2, or something that's like a little too small. So it's best to gauge a little bit first, like try and map it out a little bit first before going right ahead with it. So then we move over to Abby. So we start by making his torso and making the collar right there. Bingo. And then move to his pants there. There we go. And so we start adding in a little bit of the detail right here and there. And so we start to go to the arms also. So we're going to have him have his arms be crossed together. That way it's more like a buddy buddy type of thing also. And with this, we're coming to the end of the footage here as well as for the line of the 522. So let's move to the next route. Now we come to one of my most favorite, most greatest Bay Area agencies, and that would be Samtrans, also known as the SMCTD, or also known as the San Mateo County Transit District. Now, to bounce away from the drawing for right now, Samtrans was originally formed in 1976 when voters in San Mateo County approved the formation of the San Mateo County Transit District in 1974. And it was the consolidation of 11 different city bus systems, including Western Greyhound lines, which would take which Samtrans would take that over for commuter service on July 2nd of 1977. And they will be celebrating their 50th anniversary soon on July 1st of this year. So, yeah. So basically, we are riding currently on the ECR, which goes from Palo Alto Transit Center all the way to Daly City BART. And I'm going to give you a little bit of trivia for this route. Did you actually know that this route wasn't actually named the ECR all the time? It was actually two different routes and just operated in different times. So basically, before it was named ECR, it was a combination of two routes, the 390 and the 391. The 390 ran between Daly City BART and Palo Alto's Caltrain, whilst the 391 handled the San Francisco Transbay Terminal and Redwood City Caltrain, which later would be changed to Daly City BART. And at about the beginning, or at least the middle of the 2010s, Samtrans would consolidate the two routes into the ECR route and would be operating that from here on out. And that's basically how they ran it for many years since then. And I'm going to give you another piece of trivia also, which is their very unique numbering scheme. So basically, they have whether that be two numbers, one or three, or maybe just a bunch of letters. So basically, it works something like this. The beginning digit would often refer to the connections that the root is with. So basically, let's say the route that you're going on connects with, let's say, BART. That would come with a number 1 on the front. Or let's say the route you're on connects to Caltrain. That would be with the number 2 in the front. And if the route connects with both BART and Caltrain, it would have the number 3 on the front. Now, we move on to the middle part, which would be the area served or the express sequence. So, basically, A would be the sequential alphabetic designator for an express route or whichever thing. So basically, if it had a number 1, it serves the coast side. And if it has a 2, 3, or 4, it serves the North County, which would be Colma, Daly City, Brisbane, South San Francisco, San Bruno, Millbrae, and Burlingame. If it has a number 5, 6, or 7, it serves the Mid County, which would be San Mateo, Foster City, Redwood Shores, Belmont, San Carlos, and Redwood City. If it had a number 8, it serves South County, which would be Menlo Park, East Palo Alto, and Palo Alto itself. And if it has a number 9, it means that it basically serves multiple cities along that route. And basically, at the end of it would be the sequence number or the express. So the X on the end would basically designate that it's an express service, and a 0 or any number would basically mean it's a sequential number assigned to the numbered routes. So, for example, let's take into account the god awful route, the 292, which I personally despise. So, the 292 serves from San Francisco, from the Mission District, all the way up to Hillsdale Mall. So, let's decode this one little route. So, basically, the 2 represents that it connects to Caltrain, and the 9 means that it serves multiple cities, and the 2 with it is just a sequence number with it. So you get a combination of route 292, basically. A route that connects to Caltrain and serves multiple cities. So then there's also other ones, such as ECR, which is basically the abbreviated version of the street that it mainly runs on, which is El Camino Real, the famous King's Highway. Then we also got expresses. Let's take a look, for example, at the EPX that was recently made in 2022. That route goes either from San Bruno Bart and goes all the way up to East Palo Alto, or starts from San Francisco, then goes to Bart, then goes to East Palo Alto, and vice versa. So the P in it refers to its route, which is Palo Alto, and or no, E is East Palo Alto. EP is East Palo Alto, and X basically means express. So basically, it's East Palo Alto Express. Sorry if I confused you a little bit there. But yeah, that's basically the rundown of how the routes run and such. And, oof, man. And basically, also, as you could see from the footage and me blabbering a little bit, um, we were on a very weird detour there for a second. And that is because they're doing a little bit of maintenance on El Camino Real from about, I believe, um, Millbrae all the way towards San Mateo. And so basically, it's going to be doing that until at least in a few months to at least next year. So, and I'm kind of excited to see what they got planned for that. So basically, here we are, and going through from Millbrae to San Bruno currently for right here. And I'm working on the legs of Miss Apple here. And yeah, 2 of the teachers are going to be seen for right here, and the 3rd is going to be made just after I finish, working on her for right now. So here I am working on the boots on Miss Apple, making sure to get the buttons right, the proportion, and everything just perfect enough. And so we get to the next one, and I gauge the head size, and it's a little bit difficult to try and gauge the head size, especially with like how bumpy the ECR gets, especially when it's passed in the northern direction of like San Bruno, basically. It can be a little bit tricky when you're trying to do that and you're trying to focus on trying to get the perfect head shape. So it can be a little bit tricky there. So basically, here we are exiting Bart, basically from San Bruno Bart. and going back onto Palo Alto, or I'm sorry, uh, El Camino Real, not Palo Alto. My bad. Um, so yeah, we're working on the shoulders right here, working on the horns here, and a little bit hard to get a little bit of the shape of that, but I managed to get that easily. And keeping on working on the shoulders, and originally I kind of wanted her to like hold the blade out, facing towards, the viewer, but I kind of was like not really feeling it and just wanted her to hold the thing to her side. So basically, here we are working on the legs. They're a little too short. I know she's short, but she's not that short. And so I just, use the pole tool, move it down a little bit, and I decide, hey, let's make it a little bit comedic and put a box under her. Just to tease her a little bit more. But yeah, um, so yeah, this might be the one little itty bitty comedic type of part for this picture. So yeah, here we are making the blade for her, making sure to erase, the the internal parts, with the body showing here and there. Just clean up everything, make sure it's all cleaned up and ready to go for the next few phases. So I work on the hair, or I don't know what you would call that, ponytail or something. But yeah, admiring the work a little bit more with layers here and making sure everything's good and adding another character. But here we are, let's move on to the next. So here we are on one of my home agencies, SFMTA, also known as the San Francisco Municipal Transit Agency. So, to give a little bit of a brief explanation of them, they basically got their start at around 1906 during the big earthquake that happened at around that time, and would operate many cable car lines and streetcars, as well as many buses, and getting their first trolley buses at about 1940s, and would go on to be one of the more bigger agencies of the Bay Area. And here we are riding one of their routes, which is the 14R, a express route that goes from Daly City BART all the way towards the Mission District, all the way to Fisherman's Wharf. So here we are, working on one of the characters. And I decided to put Chip into this because, well, why not? Might as well add this cute little bugger over here, and in celebration of a good old birthday post. So here we are, making the jacket for him that he usually wears. And over here, it can get a little bit worse with the bumpiness. Like, at least with the ECR and the 522 Rapid, at least those can be somewhat manageable. But the 14R just takes the bumpiness and just ramps it up, making it nearly impossible to try and draw something without having to be stationary on the bus basically. But yeah, and I couldn't really look up a reference image for a pirate hat because, well, as you can see in the footage, it looks a little different. That's because I used my phone and put it on a tripod for this. So basically, I just had to go off of no reference and just basically had to do it like this. So here we are. I put a little pirate hat on him, or shall I say in quotations, pirate hat on him. And then we move to another character here. Another baby character, shall I add. This character would be none other than one of my own OCs named Katoku, one of the children of A and Miss Circle, and would actually be one of the middle children here. And as we reach into the middle city, I get to work on him a little bit more and more, starting out with his little horns, and then also with his fluffy hair. And also, as a sort of bonus type of fact, if you have Katoku and you translate it from Japanese into English, it basically means that he's a leader of sorts. It's basically what I kind of intended him to be, despite him being the one of the middle children of the family of, A in the circle. But yeah, that's basically um, what the little fun fact is for him over there. So it's kind of adorable. So, anyways, I started getting to work on the eye shapes and the facial expressions of the characters, specifically of Angle here, with him looking back, and then also of adding in the little bits and details here and there, specifically the band straps on Angle's shoulder, and then moving to Miss Navel's facial expression with her showing off her little pointy tooth, and also that eye as well, and then moving to Miss Circle as well for right here, and showing her classic face, which is, as typical as it can get. But yeah, this is basically all that there is to it for this section, and for the next section, we will be hopping onto Golden Gate Transit, but not without spending an hour in San Francisco. So after a 1 hour interchange sitting at the Salesforce Transit Center, I get on to phase 4 of the trip, which is right on to Golden Gate Transit Route 172 to Santa Rosa. And, oh boy, I got some stuff to say about Golden Gate Transit, without including, anything with the drawing for right here. But, anyways, to get into the history of Golden Gate Transit, it was formed back in January 1st of 1972 as the culmination of years of work for the Golden Gate Bridge to alleviate traffic congestion, reduce pollution, and to take over unprofitable commuter bus services operated by Greyhound. And so they took that over, and basically GGT began operating local bus service in Marin County under a contract with Marin Transit back in December 15th of 1971, and would expand different routes, specifically the 101, which would form at about the 2010s. And who boy, um I could make a whole, other different video ranting about it, but eh, this could be the rant right here. But before that, I guess let's address first the picture for a little bit. So I decided to add a little bit of a grumpy face to Bloomy over here, I mean, she's short, and she's angry, but she's cute, and I like that. And I can see why. I mean, she's short, she's sitting on top of a box, and everybody's making fun of her. Even when it's a birthday picture, everybody's making fun of her. But yeah. But ooh lord. Not AC Transit. I mean Golden Gate Transit. I'm getting them mixed up, but nah. This makes me respect AC Transit a lot more. You know, they may have ditched me on my 18th birthday when I did my whole trip there, but with them, I kind of have some sort of respect with them, but Golden Gate Transit, I have zero respect for. Like, at least with AC Transit, yeah, sure, they may have, like, ran off without me and a couple of people at a bus stop, but at least they have the decency to not overcharge you and at least can make it up somehow. But Golden Gate Transit just, um, it's like the gold digger of the Bay Area transit agencies, the parasite of the Bay that I call it. It takes all of your money and charges you so much, and every single time it spits you out and it just basically screws you over so badly every single time. It's always late whenever you don't want it to be late, and it's always too early when you don't want it to be early. It always never works in your favor. Like like when I was coming back basically, um when finishing the challenge, um I basically was running to try and get the 101 back from San Rafael to San Francisco, but I missed it because the morons ran early that time around. And so I was stranded there for pretty much 40, 50 minutes at least, waiting for another goddamn bus to try and take me to San Francisco. And oh my goodness gracious. And you know what's surprising about that? Is that you had me pretty much muttering under my breath that freaking Waymo, of all things, was good. Like, literally think about that for a second. Your agency is so horrible. It's so bad. It is so deplorable and unusable to the point where I'm over here praising a robot taxi company. Do you know how twisted and how bad that is when you have people over here like supporting, rideshare services more and saying that they could care less if you ran out of money and such because you're that bad at, the services that you provide? That's pretty bad. That right there is evidence that you messed up pretty damn badly. But yeah, I mean, then of course I'm probably gonna get people asking, then why did you take it anyways? Well, first off, it's a challenge. I only am supposed to take buses, nothing else, no trains, no nothing at all. And number two, this is your only choice. This is your only choice for transit, basically. Like, if you want to take smart, okay, there you go. There's smart, but that's literally the only choice that you got in terms of, getting from San Francisco all the way to freaking Santa Rosa if you want to. But I digress, anyways. But yeah, before I just. Oof, I don't want to talk about GGT no more. It's. I'm just going to leave it at this. It's the gold digger of the Bay Area. That's pretty much all I'm just going to say about it. It's a parasite. It's disgusting. The service is always hit or miss. It just is never going to work in your favor. It's just always horrible. But yeah, let's just shift back to the drawing. So basically, here I am working on the facial expressions. Here I am working on um, the coloring and such, getting into the detailing here. Here we are, working with A over here, giving him his signature black shirt, and also working on the coloring of the arms and everything else as well. Making sure to, get every little nook and cranny just ready so that the background colors don't really, show through, because that can be a mistake. Sometimes that can happen, which is where I forget sometimes to color in a part of the character or part of the picture, and so basically the background colors just show through. But yeah, that's basically all there is to it. And hey, look, I gave Abby a little bit of a red tie, made him look a little bit more fancy smanchy over here for this little photo shoot he's doing here. And so basically, starting off a little bit easy, the black for, the black parts, with the hair, the eyes, and whatnot. So here we are working on little grumpy face Bloomy over here, working on the shirt, the blade, the skin, and everything else here. Aw, play the long face, Bloomy. Come on, you'll be all right. It's just a little bit of teasing, that's all. Well, anyways, then we move to circle here. So we start to color in the whites there, because that little tiny little itty bitty bit where the bangs are covering up a little bit with the mouth, it kind of prevents the fill tool to correctly fill the whole entire space over there. So I gotta go in there and pretty much narrow in the colors a little bit, but yeah. And then we move to Thavel over here, giving her a little bit of color here and there, making sure to whiten up the little bit of the areas there, and making sure to check for any breaks in there, which is basically the forgotten parts where I forgot to fully make the line go through. And so basically, what that does is that when you go to fill in that part, it just fills up the whole picture instead of focusing on that one part. So you got to fill that right back in. But yeah, so here we are. We're moving now right into the background, and I'm choosing a nice little mix of red, then a little bit of cyan in there in the mix, and then a little bit of, let's say, magenta, and then making sure to see how it goes. And as you can see, I forgot the one little mistake I did right there. After the shading and whatnot, I forgot one little itty bitty thing, and that was to color in Angle's Angle's bands right there on his shoulder. But yeah, here we go, showing off a little bit of more of the anger on Miss Bloomy's face right there, with her little pouty little face. Good grief, she is really angry. She's guess you can say she's got a short fuse. Alright, I'll see myself out there. But yeah, anyways, I'm still shading here, still making sure, adding a little bit of details. And at this point, I completely forget about the bands there, so I'll go ahead, fill those in, and right in time too, as we head right to our next and final part. Now, here's the last and final agency we're doing: Sonoma County Transit, and riding on Route 60X. So, Sonoma County Transit started in about 1980, and not really too much is really known about it, honestly, and especially by me too. I mean, judging by me being, the transit guy, I really don't know too much with it. I mean, I've only done it twice, basically, so yeah, this is one of those things. And this thing can go all the way as far south as, I would say, Petaluma, and go as far north as freaking Cloverdale. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I've seen somewhere that it also goes to Fort Bragg, if I'm not wrong, which is insane. That is some insane distance. Good God. But yeah, today we're basically taking the 60X, which goes up to Cloverdale, but this is the challenge is only to go towards um, Windsor. So basically, that's what I'm doing here. And so here I am doing the last bit of detailing on the picture. Now, I would consider it done, but I still have a few things to do, specifically some extra detailing here with the 20 on here, and then also with a little bit of shading here and there on the characters, especially with like putting extra lighting on them. So that's basically what I'm doing here, as well as like adding in a little bit of detailing here, and adding in that, hey, look, it's my 20th. Here we go. And wanted to add in a little bit of a secret here and make this thing into a candle, and basically to brighten it up just a little bit. And the ride I actually got here is actually a 2010, or at least a late 2000s model Orion 7 NG, which is not really something you actually get to see nowadays in the Bay Area. And I think, like, aside from Union City Transit, and I think maybe a few others, I'm not sure who else, is basically, I think, one or a few of the last operators of the Orions, basically, which is pretty insane. So yeah, here we go with the number two, putting in the colors here and putting in the shading here, because I'm having the light come from the right side, and having the darkness coming to the left side here. So basically, here we go. The candles have been made. The lights are shining through here, So we get all the characters here. We start to get to work a little bit over here and there, and making sure that it's all integrated into the picture by adding in a little bit of shading on the back. That way, it just gives it a little bit more of its own surface, if you know what I mean. But yeah, that's basically uh, what I'm doing here. And now we start getting towards more the detailing here, which is what I talked about, adding in a little bit of lighting to the characters. And so this basically is what I'm doing here. And with that, that's where I finish the picture, which is a few minutes to spare. I finally get off the bus, and here I am. This is the city of Windsor. And here is Smart's newest station. Now, the reason why I wanted to come to Windsor is basically it's actually one of the farthest points that I've ever gotten, like on transit, basically, and also because I wanted to check it out for a long time since Smart basically extended to it, like about like last year or so, or I think this year. I forgot when it actually came into Windsor. But yeah, I wanted to check it out for a long time, and this is actually one way I wanted to do it, as well as to challenge myself in my art skills too. But yeah, here we are, the last and final distance, about 100 or so miles from one end of the Bay Area to the other, and with 5 hours made on the clock. Yeah, insane that whole thing was. Now, that was a huge ordeal, and we finally get to celebrate my 20th birthday with a blast. So, I guess with that, this concludes this 20th birthday special video that I will be uploading on the 26th, which is when you will be seeing this video. And so, I want to take this moment to share a big thank you to everybody who's been here on the journey with me, from my years growing up to um, the till now, basically, with the many cool people that I've met throughout the journey of being here for 20 years. It's wow, it's actually surreal that I'm actually this old now. But yeah, um, that'll do it from here, and yeah, uh, that'll do it. And I'm glad to have done this. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy, and a happy birthday.